What's up, AfterBuzzers? We are back with the For the People After Show, episode 3, 18 miles outside of Roanoke, and we're talking all about Kate Littlejohn. We got some good discussion points, and you don't want to miss some of our great predictions. Stay tuned.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
I don't even know what year this came out, but
we were in middle school trying to get it in.
So appropriate. Trying to learn how to do the dance like 1, 2, 3, and 4, and this was a vibe. This was a hit.
It was. That's when all the girls were trying to like dance like Sierra.
See what I'm saying? It was that time. Listen, Sandra, Kate, they got all into it, but let's go ahead and get started. Welcome back to the For the People After Show. I am Keith Andre here.
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm El Marie.
And I'm Takira Shabrae.
Okay. We're missing Tori this week, but it's okay.
She's back next week.
We'll hold down the fort until she joins us back. This episode was really good. I was super excited about it. I was happy that we kind of keep going further into the direction that we feel, I guess, more comfortable with.
Right. More action, more drama, more interaction.
Yes, there's lots to talk about. We'll get into like the sex bit a little later.
How did you know that's where we were going?
You know, remember when we started, we had a few questions about like Shondaland. And
look, I'm so excited. I'm dropping bones. Not just throwing bows, but I ain't gonna pick it up.
Okay, listen, Reggae was here last week and he didn't make any mention of sex scenes.
Not at all.
Not
at all.
We have to call him out and hold him accountable.
Yeah. Shame on him. Shame on him.
But before we get there, so episode 3, I felt like, I mean, they set us up to feel that it was between Sandra and Kate, but it really was all about Kate. And I thought it was magnificent.
My girl.
Okay. I knew you would love it.
From the beginning.
Right?
Yeah.
But it was so good. Susanna Flood, she had so many great moments throughout the whole episode. I was so impressed with her skill set, and I just thought everything came together well.
Yeah, very much so. The emotion.
Yeah, Ray said that. He was like, wait till this episode for Kate. Like, this is her episode. She's going to kind of shine in this one, and you learn a little more about her, and we totally did. So I was excited to see another side of her so soon.
Yeah, it is very soon. I do feel that we got to learn a whole lot about her, and, you know, I'm starting to feel that, you know, each week we'll get to kind of learn more about each one of them. So I'm looking forward to that as well. Yeah, and especially with Kate, because not only did we get to see her in her own light, but we get to see how consistent her character is, even adding her own light to it.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I do want to ask, did you guys feel, because I feel like by episode 3 is a good chance to kind of gauge, kind of recheck in with how we feel about it. Did you feel that it felt more like a Shondaland show, or how are we feeling about that?
Yeah, with the drama.
I think so. Yeah. I was about to say that the head-to-head kind of who's better than who, and you know, amongst other things.
Yeah,
right.
But
I think definitely the drama, and
the
definitely a lot of monologues. You know, we got to hear a bunch of people talking a lot, from Kate to Allison to Sandra. Like, it was a lot.
Yeah,
I like it. I like it a lot.
I like it a lot. Okay, so without further ado, then let's go ahead and get into our episode breakdown. Kind of go through some of the characters. Do y'all want to start with Kate, or did y'all want to save her?
I feel like because I feel like it's so much. So let's I feel like we can run through everyone else and then
kind of jump back. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Okay, so let's start with a couple of the guys we didn't get to see a whole lot of. So Jay, Seth, we got to see them kind of still be themselves. I feel like with Jay, like I said last week, my eye is like on him as a character now. So I get to see how like quirky and like funny he is. Yeah. And I thought it was really good to see how he supported like Sandra and like was able to shed light on things. So I really liked seeing him. Did you guys have any thoughts about Jay in particular?
He's just, like you said, he's kind of funny to me. Like his whole thing with Kate, like he will not let that go. Right. And then like he was describing like her and like the experience he had, and then he saw Sandra's face and it's like, oh, but I guess you didn't.
Right.
Exactly.
Really go through the same thing.
He went completely on a little tangent, poor thing.
He did.
Yeah. But I loved it. I can tell that I think Wissam is funny in real life. Yeah. And I think it bleeds into this character, and I love it because it's this kind of sarcastic, are you gonna laugh? No, not gonna laugh. Okay, too soon. Okay, great, we're good. Like mentality, so I love it.
I agree with you 100%. He has really good timing, and I think that is the actor more than it is the character, but it does bleed in it, and it is helpful for Jay because we get to see him even in these small moments, like they're impactful. And I think we get to see that with everybody, even Seth, because throughout the episode, I found myself thinking like, okay, I mean, Seth is still just Seth. He's always just like on the outskirts of, you know what I mean? Everything.
Right.
But he had good moments as well. I feel that we learned with Seth, like he kind of knows a little bit about everything with the whole like, amateur meteorologist or whatever.
Right. He's a magician.
Like,
he's like pulling cards.
Such a nerd, but it's cool though. It's a cool thing to know.
Yeah, because I feel that he's fun-spirited. He does remind me of, one thing I will say is, I think initially I thought the show was built to feel more like How to Get Away with Murder. But now with this episode, it's feeling like early on with Scandal. Yeah. Like, you know, kind of setting. And setting that foundation. But Seth is reminding me of How to Get Away with Murder. What's Michaela's boyfriend? I know you don't know. Elle Marie never knows character's name. I shouldn't ask. I should have done my homework. Asher!
Go girl! Ding, ding, ding.
Asher. He reminds me of Asher because he's like kind of dorky and like he knows this stuff and he just fits well. So, and I do want to kind of, I guess, make the difference that even though he's a character, maybe a smaller character, but as an actor, I feel like he's doing like such a good job because it requires a lot of work to fit into these parts to kind of dance around everything else that's happening.
I think they're very subtle because, I mean, we're looking from the outside in and we're seeing him like he's kind of floating and that sort of thing. But to dig a little deeper, I feel like he's floating because his character is known to be the one that has to prove himself. And so when you are that type of person where you don't really fit in, you're in so much because, like actually Reggae said last week, kind of off air, he mentioned, you know, you are into anything because you're not defined by anything. Like you're not you're a part of every crowd because you don't fit into a particular crowd. So I think his character is doing a really good job kind of floating like, I don't really belong, so I'm just going to know how to do all of these things so that I can kind of pull tools out of my hat to, you know, accommodate each group. So I think it's, whether the writer is meant to do it that way or not, I think
it's happening.
It works
for him. Yeah, it does. And like I said, once we get into predictions, we'll talk about next week's episode because that one is going to be
Seth's moment.
All about Seth. All about Seth. But so another player who was used a little less, Leonard. I'm ready to see him more because we didn't get a whole lot of him last week.
And not only because
you were like in love with it.
Even though we kind of did technically get a little more of him,
we did.
We didn't get enough. You know, we didn't get a lot of him, sort of thing.
Okay,
you know?
so let's get into Leonard's like appearance throughout the episode. So he still gave us very much this bravado and this masculine energy and like this appeal and this wit. And so is that the first moment we saw him when he was in the bed? Was the sex the first moment?
I don't think that's the first.
No, I think it was.
I think it was.
I think it
No,
was.
it was.
It was. They said, you want sex? Here it is.
Right. It really was, actually, yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, who is this? Because it was just like bodies.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, of course.
Yeah, I was like,
right, should
yeah.
have known. Yeah.
Of course. See, we missed out on the. That's why Reggae has to come back.
Yes.
We definitely
Gotta
get
get
the
him
chance.
Reggae, you can't get off on that one.
Right.
You have to come back. I just hope you know. So
And address it. Address the
Right.
dirt. But so we got to see him. He did have sex, of course. And we'll talk. I want to talk a little bit about the sex scene.
Okay.
So how did you guys feel about it?
I'm not gonna lie. I thought of you, girlfriend, because I was like, oh, Marie, here's your moment. But then I'm not gonna lie, I was a little disappointed.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I could have seen more.
Okay.
Like I've seen better sex scenes from Shondaland, and I'm just saying.
Yeah.
And I think that's
that
fair.
one was mediocre.
It wasn't even the body on body part. It like, because if they kept it that way, then we would be like, oh, okay,
Been fine with it.
left to the unknown. But it was the line afterwards, like, you broke my brain.
Yeah, like
I don't know, that kind of ruined it for me.
Yeah, I agree. I mean,
hate to say it.
watching it, I'm trying to. I feel like
because he didn't have to use it, so it's broken. I don't know, like.
it just fell flat, which is
Yeah.
okay. Which is okay.
It's okay. It's fine.
Hear me out. It's perfectly fine. But I did feel similar. I think because we do kind of, on one hand, have the expectation of like what sex looks like on TV today, and then it's like what sex in Shondaland looks like today.
Right.
And then it's like all of a sudden y'all are introducing sex into for the people, and it's like we're ready, but are we ready?
Right.
It's like
Yeah.
they gave us a G-rated sex scene,
Yeah.
kind of. I mean,
was
with
like,
the lines were a little corny.
It was probably just to test it out. Let's see how much we're
Yeah.
gonna involve.
Well, we'll
sex
take
in
it.
the show.
Yeah, I mean, we'll take it.
We'll take it, but it did feel like a little.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think that the things that were the sexy parts to me were not even really the act, but the slick, like, sly comments he did, like, without people really noticing.
Yeah.
Like, of course, the text, like, anytime,
Right.
or like the word filthy. You're
Okay.
like, oh, to the imagination.
Exactly.
You know? My husband and I was like, oh, okay, filthy. All right, you really
That's what
good.
we're doing.
You know? But then the whole, like, oh, let her cool off. I think she needs to cool off.
Right.
Whenever
Yeah.
he asked, like, oh, when
Right.
Kate was like, I don't want you to cancel your date. And I was like, no, she
Yeah.
needs to cool off. Like, oh,
He
okay.
is a bit much. Mr.
He's a
Leonard
lot.
is a bit much.
I mean, he's a lot. He is very much an alpha male, and even outside of the sex, I do feel that he has this like sex appeal that kind of carries over into the way that he
Right.
presents himself. Like throughout the office, the scene in the elevator, I thought was golden. Like the win-win,
Yeah.
and he's a boss, and I was like, oh,
He's like,
is,
mic
yeah,
drop
okay.
without the mic drop.
right. It's like,
Yeah.
well, I'm off here, so, and I'm just
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
No,
That's
no,
why I
right.
need to see more of this character, because so far to me he's amazing.
Yeah.
But I feel like he has some layers, and I want to see them being peeled back.
yeah, and I think
Oh,
we'll
yeah.
begin to
Yeah.
see them, and I
yeah.
think in a couple of ways we kind of saw them in this episode, because near the end where he was getting the filthy text message and he decided to put his phone away. So for me, I felt it could have been a struggle between, I want to be this person that presents this way, but I do want friendships. I don't want to leave these people because you know what I mean? So I was just trying to
That was a
figure
sweet
it out
way.
for me.
Yeah, that was a sweet way.
I,
also felt
I
like,
didn't get that.
Yeah, neither did I.
I got
Well.
a. Oh yeah, that's right. I'm gonna make her wait.
Wait,
Yeah.
Let
right.
me
You
take.
gonna
Let me
wait.
take this
Uh-huh.
last shot,
One
and then
more.
I'm gonna hit my
One more drink. We see that he drinks a
She
dirty
waits, yeah.
martini.
Mhm.
He got
Yeah,
he had a
he's
few olives in
dirty.
his drink. So
Dang. Okay.
I'm
I
sorry.
never saw that.
well, I wanted to see. I thought it was important.
Like all the olives that he had.
Thought it
How many
was
was it? 3?
Listen,
Or 2?
I needed to see what decisions they were making as an actor and attention to detail. So I
Oh,
wanted to
okay,
see like what
okay.
each was like. He had a martini.
So what did Kate have?
Kate had dark liquor or maybe
Oh,
scotch or something.
okay.
I don't know. In a
Old-fashioned or
glass,
something.
like just straight up.
Okay.
And then Seth had a beer.
Okay.
So I'm like trying to figure out what they're drinking as their cash.
You can
is.
tell a lot
that can-
by what
See?
someone drinks. You're right. I just wanted to make sure you recognized other people's drinks. I was gonna put you on blast, but but I did kind of put you on blast.
I
but-
did. I noticed everybody. Okay, so enough about Leonard. I think before we get into Alice and Sandra and Kate, of course. I did want to talk about, I guess, the way the episode started. One thing that I am seeing is that with Hope and Roger, kind of the way that they coach each of them in their different environments. So to have that episode start with this comparison piece between Sandra and Kate's life, I thought was interesting.
Yeah, that was really nice.
Yeah. And I think that Hope, is her name Hope or is it Jill?
Jill.
Okay, Jill.
Well,
the actress's
Hope
name
Davis.
is I think they also do a really good work as well.
Yeah, very
each
subtle.
time you see them, but it's super impactful.
Yeah.
And they help you realize these decisions. We can go right into Allison, who we learned more about her tonight.
We did.
Yeah, I'm glad she turned it around because I was not liking her.
What were your thoughts?
Yeah, last week she kind of rubbed me the wrong way.
Well,
Yeah.
I think this episode she rubbed me the wrong way at the beginning. She was just this spoiled brat. Doesn't so I was like, man, don't give her this mentality. She has to bounce back. But I'm glad that she bounced back quickly, and I think seeing her brother kind of helped with that.
Yeah,
So.
it definitely gave insight into her backstory and the way that we do perceive her now, because I do think in a lot of ways she has this juxtaposition between being a spoiled brat and being misunderstood. And we're kind of riding the fence with her because we got to learn from her experience with her brother, and then feeling that she's the black sheep, and then everybody else feels no. I remember he had said I can't remember what he said, but something
that you make the decisions, that you get to control everyone's decisions.
Yeah, pretty much. You answer to no one, and everyone is at your service.
Exactly.
You got the apartment and all of this. I'm like, wow, because we saw her that way with Seth. We saw her try to be that way with Sandra, quiet as his cat. So it's just okay, she's going to have these moments where she has to break past whatever this person that she is. But we did see her have good moments. She had her first sentencing. She got in the courtroom. She gave us some monologues.
She did good.
She did her
She
thing.
did really good.
I thought she was dope. I was like, oh, they really gave us a lot of moments tonight.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited. I feel like the direction that we're going in is going to be awesome. With Sandra, what are your thoughts? I feel like we saw her a lot, but she still wasn't. She was used to assist in
Kate.
this Kate moment.
Yeah, definitely.
So that wasn't a Sandra moment.
It wasn't about Sandra this week.
Yeah, not at all.
I think it's what stood out to me and what was so hilarious was even down to the very beginning of the episode, how she came off of the subway. Kate was all poised and walking very straight with her posture and so prepared, and Sandra just comes flopping arms.
Disheveled
It's
their offices.
She's she's pushing paper away, and Kate is no, 43 degrees this way.
Exactly.
But she has this casual but determined mentality about her that I really like. So I think even her being casual, I think she held her own.
Yeah, I think it's to be appreciated. I mean, with Sandra, we did see the differences, but I feel by the end of the episode, we were left feeling that they are a lot more similar.
Right.
Than they are different. I really enjoyed the instances where we saw them together kind of go, head to head.
Yeah.
And she was the glorified hall monitor. And I was like, girls, you
was
wanted the
deep.
dirt? Right? You get in the dirt.
That was a
read.
deep, right. That was a deep cut.
I was like, wow,
That's
she gets nasty. So Sandra
Yeah.
has a fight. We knew she had some fight in her from the jump, but she was used here to assist with all of the great moments that we got from Miss Kate Littlejohn, who is exceptional.
Right. A very small, but again, very important to me detail was this whole sharing food thing came up again.
Oh my God,
The
I'm so
sandwich.
glad you said that because I meant to write that down. Because I went back and I watched the episode twice. And I didn't see it the first time, and the second time when she was like, "Give me half," but you don't want
she
half.
didn't
You
even say
bite
half.
in.
Yeah,
Oh,
she took it. She was like, "I'm just gonna eat this until you tell me to stop."
Right.
Yeah.
But you know what? I as much as that stood out to me, and I was like, "Ha ha" moment. Just because I'm so analytical, this is just who I am. I'm thinking, okay, she is definitely not a only child. She came from, and we're still kind of learning, why she makes the decisions that she was. So it stood out to me. Okay, foster care or something of that nature. And then she mentioned that she doesn't want to get married. So I'm thinking,
she did say that.
Was it divorce gone wrong or, something? But I was like, yeah.
Come on, Takira.
Like,
come on.
Right.
Come through.
I was just thinking, a single child mentality. That is not single child mentality. I come from a family of like 8 brothers and sisters, and we are like dipping fingers in everyone else's,
Like, that's mine.
When we were younger. Nowadays, I'm just like...
I'm like, because there's 6 of us, and I've never wanted to be bothered with that. I like my own stuff. Don't pick out no clothes. No, none of that.
Sandra might be that way.
Yeah.
So
But you know what? In watching this and watching Kate, I was like, I think that they may have a similar background too. When Kate got to her why, I was like, okay, so... It's some stuff here. It's some stuff here.
And I'm so excited. I'm so excited that they gave the why behind the why. Not to like jump into Kate too early, but it was a good.
It was important, and I'm ready to jump into Kate.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, then I'm so excited that they gave the why behind the why.
Yeah, I think it was important because we get to see Kate, and she's always calculated, and she's intense, and she's so smart, and she's always prepared. And we get to see, this face that she puts on, but we never really get to see her or who she is. And throughout the episode, we did get that experience, near somewhere along the way where she was talking to Roger. And she's like, I have feelings too. He was like, they're hurting you. And it's just like, wow, even when I want to kind of be a bigger person or have feelings, I'm in a position where people need me to be, this person that follows the rules because the rules work.
Yeah. And I liked when they were kind of going back and forth, and you had this moment of where they're both like, they're unreasonable. Like, they felt that way about each other. And I felt like that kind of puts them kind of like on an equal playing field. You know what I mean? Like, they are both good at what they do right now. But in this moment... Kate Littlejohn came through with the upper hand, because at first, when Sandra gave her read and called it a glorified hall monitor, I was like, oh, she's done. She got her. Right. But then Kate came back.
She came back to you. I'm going to wait until the right moment, and then I'm going to get you together.
Yeah. And she did.
And she did.
She even convinced me. I was like, that's a good point.
Yeah. I thought it was so good. So, y'all want to go there? Are we going there? We're going there. Well, as far as her moment. Yeah, as far as her telling, I thought that it was interesting that she chose to be vulnerable in that instance. I think
she had tears in her eyes.
She did. She was so good. I think it was a natural response to kind of Sandra's dig. You have no choice but where are you going to go from there, but to give it to you real. You know what? Because you're questioning all of who I am and you have no idea. And so we get to learn this story about... I just found myself like brokenhearted for her. She wanted to go on this trip to the Capitol for 6 years, and she's doing all this work to get there, and then in an instance it's taken away. And I thought it was so impactful for the writers to write that. I didn't look up, but I felt the bus turn around, and I was just like,
crazy.
Are you kidding me? And that really set the path and the trajectory for her whole life. And I think the biggest moment that she gave us on this episode, or the biggest line in just schooling Sandra, that injustice is not only felt by those that are complaining.
Yeah, like the loudest complainer.
Yeah.
And that was the part that won me over. I was like, wow, that's deep. That's a very good point to make.
It's so deep. And I think it's such a necessary piece of the conversation in today's society, because it's easy to get... I don't want to say caught up, but I feel that as a person of color, it's easy to get overcome with emotion or to be disturbed or to feel that my feelings mean this and yours don't necessarily matter.
Yeah.
Because you treat me like my feelings don't matter. But it's still important to be able to kind of gauge things from both angles and to see that just because you hear this injustice doesn't mean the person who's quiet doesn't have a reason to fight for something.
Right.
And so she definitely pulled her chops. She had proved her point. Like, she was so good.
She was.
Yeah, definitely.
I loved it.
I think especially like you say, in today's society, we are in a point where people are being quiet for, like you said, you don't really understand the why. You don't understand me just because I'm being quiet. And so I feel like Kate is one of those people where, you know, she's quiet for a number of reasons. She doesn't want to be judged. She doesn't want your pity whatsoever.
Or your opinion.
Or your opinion, for that matter. Yeah. She's like, why tell you when I could care less what you say after? Like, what's the benefit for me to tell my story? But I feel like that's why she had tears in her eyes.
Yeah.
I think because to her, she might think, well, telling my story might not change anything at all. But I think that was what that smile at the end was. You know, they kind of had that same look of relief and of compromise and satisfaction. It was just such a beautiful thing. So, you know, being quiet, I think, especially again in our day and age, enough is enough of being quiet. Like, tell your truth, because you know, tell your side and your reason why, because there's, even though that one person in front of you won't understand, there's always someone else out there that will understand and give you your moments.
And that's the whole point, because it's bigger than this interchange with however few people it is. It's about kind of making that impact, and she definitely showed us that. And the good thing, even before she kind of gave us this moment, is that Kate has been quiet or short, or, you know, she's not overly expressive, but she's always working towards something. So it's not that she's ignoring situations, or, you know, that she doesn't know what's going on. She's fighting a fight. You just may not know what fight she's fighting, how she's doing it, where she's going. But I rest assured.
Until she drops that bomb, you're like, oh, okay, I got you. We're right there.
She's so smart. And we got to see both of the characters. You know, both of these women are like super smart and analytical in the way they think, even in her response to like what move Sandra was going to make, or then, you know, seeing her come in and realizing like, wow, you're doing, I get it. I see you. Like, what? No. So
it's what humanity needs. I mean, this show does such an amazing job on showing both of those sides and finding compromise. I mean, it's what humanity needs for us to grow. So
it's amazing.
Yeah,
I like it. It's important. I mean, I feel like that kind of rounds out the episode breakdown. We'll get ready to kind of go into a few discussion points. But like you said, humanity needs like these mediums and these moments where we really get to connect and kind of see the world in a different way.
Yeah. Speaking of connecting and growing, giving a nice plug for Maria Menounos. So if you want to have fun, learn, and grow in all areas of your life, well, for those who do, we have a podcast for you. Conversations with Maria Menounos Podcast Edition is hosted by our AfterBuzz TV founder and drops every Friday on iTunes. Conversations with Maria Menounos features celebrity and influencer interviews, along with secrets and tips on how to be better in all aspects of life, from health and wellness to career, relationships, finances, and more. Let our Maria be the big sister you've always wanted. Go to iTunes and subscribe to Conversations with Maria Menounos for free. Be sure to rate and comment, and when you do, let Maria know that it was your For the People panel right here that sent you. Conversations with Maria Menounos Podcast Edition. Check it out. Yes.
Okay, go ahead and subscribe.
Yes.
Imagine, what if Maria like wrote a show?
Oh my gosh.
Right? She needs to be taking these conversations.
Right. It would be full
into a show.
It would be full of like the backstory, what really happened.
See what I'm saying?
And then the growth of it all. I feel like, come on, Maria. I feel like that'd be a good thing to do.
Right?
You know what I'm saying?
Hey, it starts with this podcast, and then those who hear it, you know, clearly fans have control. We can hashtag make it happen.
We can pitch something to her. We gotta
right.
Let's listen to the episodes, keep them coming out, and then be like,
and
okay.
Then like, here's where you can go. We can do a show with this.
Right.
A TV show.
True.
Right.
We got you. We do have a few people in the live chat, so that's always exciting. The Queen of Regal is hashtag Sandra. Okay. That's the side you sticking with. That's fair.
Right.
131721. What? I like the series more and more. I can't read it.
I like that the series isn't around will they, won't they, or will or won't they fall in love, felt in love, and then the Queen of Regal. Queen of Ringo says that I think that the shadow hunter, the law is hard, but it's the law. So, yeah, that brings up a good point. I think that was Allison's and Kate's point. Like, you know, the law is a law, but when do you introduce human feeling and human experience?
How do you make it service the people that it's for?
Right.
And that's what it's all about. So in the live chat, you guys can stick around and start to make predictions because we'll get there shortly. But before that, I did kind of want to get into a few discussion points. We've been watching this for 3 weeks now, 3 episodes, and we never really got the chance to talk about where we would kind of fall. If we would be prosecutors or defense attorneys or...
Well, Reggae made his decision for us last week. So I know, you know, for those who didn't see the show last week, he off air said he called me and Tori prosecutors.
Yeah.
And then you two defense. How do you feel?
Yeah, he was on the
He
fence.
was saying
really
he was like, I was kind of, he was like, I don't really know. He couldn't quite guess it with me yet.
Right. Born in between the two.
In between the two.
So what do you think? What would you be?
I feel like sometimes when I watch the cases, it's funny because
She's like, Nazi. I'm not defending a Nazi.
No, it was funny. Wait, what did I say? No, but so when during Reggae scene with Leonard's scene when he was talking about the control and things like that, and I was like, yeah, I like that part of it. But then when you have to be a defense attorney, and if the person is guilty and things like that, I don't think my personality, I would be able to handle that and sit with that, you know?
Yeah.
And go forward with that. So with that, I think I would be a prosecutor.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can dig it. I feel like for me, I've always, like I said, I've been interested in law for years and kind of trying to decide where I would land. Reggae said I would be a defense attorney. I think that's based on my personality. And last week I was on the fence about everything. So it kind of made sense. But I feel like for me, kind of my thought of law has always kind of sided with the prosecution only because I feel that my battle is the same. Whereas I'm trying to figure out this and convict this person instead of am I trying to decide if they're innocent or guilty? And if they are guilty, I'm trying to realize that, hey, at the end of the day, everybody deserves this process. So what's the best way that I can do this so that they can get as much of the process as they can without, you know, messing up my moral compass. So I don't know. I feel like it's so much to consider, especially in this day and age with like race relations and just the criminal justice system and prison. Like, where do you fall and who do you service? So that's one thing that I appreciated about the show is we get to see both sides of justice, and they are both serving their communities or clients respectively.
Right.
I think so. But Takira, what about you?
I think a side of me, because like I said, I'm a lot like Kate. I'm very numbers don't lie. This is how it is. I'm, you know, by the book. But if I'm a defense attorney, can I like choose whether or not I take this person?
Yes.
This just
I think you can.
Yeah.
Okay. Prosecutor too? No.
Prosecutor most prosecutors, they are given a case and then they decide. It depends on where you are, but you can decide, okay, if I think I can win this and I can take it. Or I'll complete it out or all of that. But with the defense, the only thing is that you get to pick, but what if you picked and then 2 weeks later I end up telling you what I did?
Exactly, yeah. I think that's where I just have to roll with what Reggae said, unfortunately. Just prosecutor, just because I do believe that law is law, and I would try to do my best to make it and to prove that, you know what, you didn't do it. I can't prove it. But I would be a horrible prosecutor, I think, because if I'm just like, you know what, I really just don't think he did it. Right. I'm just, you know, I would just drop off. I wouldn't try to hunt someone down.
Right? Yeah. They're like, excuse me. This is how this is supposed to work here.
But there's a lot of people that get away with things that they do.
Absolutely.
And I feel like that is that's really challenging to the ones that need to be brought to justice. I kind of see it as a challenge to find the little avenues, kind of like what Seth and Kate kind of compromised to work together, not really dig into the obvious. Like, if I know that you did something wrong, you can't skate around doing this, man. Like, we can't continue to do this where you just aren't caught. So I'd have to go prosecute.
Yeah, and I think that's fine because also you look at, you know, most people say there's three sides to every story. Like his, hers, and the truth. But even when they said tonight, like two people, Kate and Sandra, could have the same case and view it completely different. Even Roger and Jill, who saw it completely separate.
Right.
In the end, they did come to, you know, compromise. Something that worked for both of them. So that's fair, and I think that's what we kind of have to hope for with the criminal justice system. But I do feel one interesting aspect of tonight's episode for sure was with Allison's case.
The software.
Yeah, I feel that for me, I don't feel that it got broken down enough. Like with the algorithm, I wanted to know more. I wanted to take away knowing more about how implementing an algorithm would affect people. Whereas with the episode, I feel like I was impacted more as like, you know, what's going on today, or a person of color, or knowing that the landscape of justice is not balanced.
Right, yeah.
Instead of whatever information came from the episode. So I would have liked to see that developed a little bit more, but in terms of having a system like that, can you imagine, like, do you guys think something like that would work
Not at all.
in today's world?
You know what? I think the angry side of me wants to say not at all, but then again, that prosecutor side of me believes in. I'm just like, you know what? Sure, use the software, but only use it as a reference. So let me plead my case.
Yeah,
I think a reference is good. I think. Yeah, use statistics, because when you stack up statistics amongst races and amongst genders, honey, they're not equal.
Right.
And so they tell a story. And I think they brought up a really good point, because I have some statistics of my own.
Okay.
They brought up a really good story. A really good point. This came from 2014, so it's a little dated, but I think that it was still impactful because it's still kind of relevant.
Yeah.
From the National Institute of Justice. It mentioned that within 3 years of release, about 67% of released prisoners are re-arrested. And with 5 years, it jumps up to 76%. With those prisoners who are arrested, more than 56% of them are arrested by the end of their first year. And so it continues to, say the prisoners are being, re-arrested.
Right.
And so the statistic that I like is that 43.6% are more likely to black men are more likely to reoffend than non-blacks, and that's the software side of it all.
Right.
But then the human nature of it all that screams out to me is it because the black male are being thrown into jail and being arrested because of how they look? Is it taking into consideration the races that are being forgiven and given the chance to plead their case early on? Is it taking all of these, into consideration? Is it taking into consideration that black men are being killed and black young men are being killed for,
that's why I say,
early,
it wouldn't work, because the numbers don't really work in our favor. Like, they're higher in those areas, meaning like, low poverty, or, where you're just not doing too good in the hood, as they would say. Your chances of being arrested or being killed or something like that are greater than if you lived in a different area. And like she was saying, making in her point, like if he lived 2 blocks over, his rate would be different. Right. So that's why I say, like, it wouldn't work, because here's this young man caught up in this, but he was just trying to do right and provide by his family, and a machine is not gonna know that and be able to empathize with that. You know? So I'm just like,
I agree, and I think that that's more of what I was expecting or would have liked to see, because she did give us that piece saying if he was 2 blocks down, it would be different. But I feel like watching it, we didn't really get a chance to understand why it would be different. I also think that to look at it on a bigger landscape. I mean, this episode they talked a lot about recidivism and you know like those chances of like reoffending and all of that. But we live in a world that looks a little bit different, especially for you know people of color and in particular Black men and Black women, especially when we're being killed by the police daily and you know everything that's going on now with like Alton Sterling and the police are getting off. So it would be interesting to see how that would play out in an episode or how numbers or how a program would impact that decision because that's what we don't really get to see.
Because the numbers with like the rearrests and things like that, then you have to take into consideration how hard it is for an ex-convict to be able to get a job and get back on their feet. So then they revert to the things that they knew in the past. To try to get there. Or like let's use Meek Mill for an example, who's doing very well, who was doing very well, very good rap career. He got arrested for violating his probation from something he did when he was 19. Yeah. This man is very grown now. You know what I mean? And living a different life, doing well for himself. There was no, like, really compassion there. You know what I mean? We kind of know why we won't get into all that. But that's what I'm saying. So the machine would just make it even worse.
Exactly. Because it just takes these numbers, it computes them and spits them out. It doesn't, like you say, have that human emotion, that empathy to really kind of act towards justice. So
I think I think it should definitely be used as reference.
Yeah, I was going to say, like you said earlier, as a reference, I think it'll be an okay tool. But, like, as this is your sentencing and pressing a button and boom,
Yeah, but we'll see. I mean, this show really does a good job of putting like these big issues that are highly relatable in our faces in primetime television, and we get to see that. And you know, with that, I mean, we can go ahead and jump into news and gossip because you wanted the dirt, you're getting the dirt. Next week episode, like we were mentioning earlier, we get to see a lot of Seth. It's centered around him, and from the trailer, it's like, oh, it's intense. Like he's really standing up for himself. He's fighting for what he believes in, and I really want to see how this is going to pan out for him.
Yeah, he's angry, like straight up angry. Like he is passionate and. It kind of like, whoa, okay, Seth, you have this side of you.
There is some grit in you. There's some fight. Like, you're here for a purpose. Yeah. You're more than just an outlier.
There's some fight in you. That's that's what I like to see.
Yes, I think that's important to see for sure. Also, for news and gossip, I saw Allison or Jasmine Savoy Brown. She did an interview with Vulture where she got to talk about being in Shonda Land and the differences coming from her HBO show. One of the highlights I thought was really cute. She talked about how you guys had mentioned before she was on an episode of Grey's Anatomy a while back, and her mom is like a super fan of the show, and so when she saw that, she was excited and was like, oh, Shonda will like create a show for you. And Jess was like, that's not the way it works, but here we are now. And she's on the whole show, so I thought that was super cute. You guys can go to Vulture and check that interview out. And then I mean, guess kind of gauge the temperature as far as we're still dealing with the pilot here. I'm hoping that pretty soon we'll get to know if the show is going to be picked up. I did see an article that was kind of talking about the ratings, feeling like they came out the gate kind of with stronger numbers. Episode 2 kind of took a dive, and it was just comparing all of the ABC shows. All the other shows in the lineup have kind of bounced back, so it's definitely important that we continue to support the show, kind of watch it. Now that we're past the point where you give it a break and you give it a chance, and we're starting to get invested in it.
Exactly.
I think the audience is really going to see that. I think they'll be able to see that growth. So
I always say, like with a pilot season of a show, you always kind of have to give it about 3 episodes. The first one, so you get acclimated with everyone in the show, and then the second one is like, okay, we'll see what this is about, and then the third, it's like you decide if you're here or not.
Do I like it or do I not like it?
It's like, am I coming back again? So I'm for the people.
Yeah, okay. For the people, I am here for it. That rounds up news and gossip for me. It's really hard too because it's a pilot to try to find the dirt. So I'm just like, something is gonna slip.
Something's gonna come up.
One thing that was really funny to me, I love to read the live tweet it Sparks, and I text you guys and I'm like, they're on the East Coast, I wish I could just like fly over, just like live tweet. So I'm sitting here trying to like get the dish before the show even starts. But I think it was really funny because they do scene secrets, and I think like we could like add it to a segment of the show because they're hilarious. Nice. it was really funny. They said that Winston will not redo an episode or like reshoot or like do his thing again unless someone laughs at one of his jokes.
Oh my God!
I thought that was really funny. So I'm kind of like, what? If I was on set, I would get everybody together. Like, don't laugh. Whatever you do, make him feel the pressure,
exactly.
and just like have him like a bunch of moments. But I thought that was really funny, and
yeah, that's cool.
I think Reggae and the guest actress, Alice Hunter, said that they were being really goofy for the most part, even though they had that intense sex.
Yeah.
Well, not intense, but
right. But they did have this.
But can we go back and talk about his snakish ways for a moment?
Okay.
Because even though the girl said like she would do the same thing because he kind of snaked her out of the, once again, pillow talk led to, deceit and backstabbing. And then she was like, a little upset, but then like, I would do the same thing. Meet me at my place. Blah, blah. Girl, that's not how this works.
Right.
You don't reward him for that.
You don't?
No, not for that.
But what? Maybe she wasn't rewarding him. She was more so rewarding herself.
For losing out.
I always feel like it's a reward for him.
I don't know.
Well, he made her wait.
Especially men like Leonard. Like, exactly. And then he made her wait.
She is like the female Leonard all the way. First of all, they kind of look alike.
Oh, my God.
I don't know if anybody else picked up on that. It was kind of strange.
Well, we'll see where that goes. I mean, with that being said, let's jump into predictions because... I mean, do you guys think that prediction-wise they are going to have this relationship that cultivates?
And now, your AfterBuzz TV.
I don't know.
You know what?
Nah. One night standish?
I think she'll pop up in another episode, but nah.
Yeah. They're just two lawyers that they understand each other and they need to get some things done.
Agreed.
And that's what that is.
Love the sex.
Okay, what other predictions for next week? What do you think that we can look forward to?
I'm really interested in Seth. I think that Jasmine will see another side of him that will maybe change her, since she is always the one that's trying to be controlling.
Yeah.
So I think, maybe it might entertain a little bit. So we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. We may see a little rekindling of Seth and Allison because he's having these passionate moments, and she knows him this well. They've dated. Like, there's no way she won't be able to not take note of that, and he might actually need her, as a friend or a confidant in this episode. So I'm looking forward to that, and I'm trying to decide. I don't know that I believe that Seth is gonna win. Whatever his case is, I don't know if he's going to win.
You think he's going to have a breakdown or something?
I don't necessarily think he's going to have a breakdown, but I just think that...
I don't think he's going to pull it off.
You had hashtag no faith.
Sorry. It's my prediction, and I'm sticking to it. So how about
there that? You go. You stick to it.
Yes.
You stick to
what about you, El Marie?
What do I have? I have that hopefully, there is no indication of this for the next episode, but now I want to dig deeper into Sandra, a little bit quicker because we're getting tidbits. And it's like, okay, just give it to me now. You know, so I'm hoping that the next, because during the interview with her client, she teared up as the client was talking and things, and we see she carries a lot of emotion. She gets it in check, but she carries a lot of emotion, and so I'm excited to hopefully maybe we'll dig a little bit deeper. Maybe not the full background story on her, but a little bit more. I think next episode we'll get a little more of Sandra.
Fair enough. So we can look forward to seeing a little more of Sandra, seeing a lot more of Seth, and then maybe seeing Seth and Allison rekindle something. Yeah. Who knows who'll be having sex next week?
I'm just interested to see when Kate gets laid. Is that wrong? Okay.
That's fair. Well, with that being said, that's our time. You guys, make sure you check out For the People comes on Tuesdays at 10. Yes. And then meet us here Thursdays at 10 p.m. on AfterBuzz TV. Make sure you join the live chat. Shout out to all you guys who had comments. Leave your comments.
Thank
you can head on to iTunes and subscribe to our podcast as well as Conversations with Maria, 2 for 1. And you can follow me everywhere. Again, I'm Keith Andre, all over social media at Keith_Andre.
And you guys can find me on Instagram and on Twitter at ElMarieTV.
And you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Takira_Shabrae.
And don't forget Tori Broussard, Tori_Broussard. We will see you later.
Bye, guys.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Keven Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.